Hi and good evening, and welcome to what I believe is our 10th session now of the Between. As ever, do catch up on some of the earlier episodes if this is the first one you're seeing. But this is, as I said, this is a game of the Between, which is a PBTA game of Gothic monster hunters in Victorian London. It's by Jason Cordova, published by the Gauntlet, and this game is also being run as part of the Gauntlet's online gaming calendar. You can find more information about what we do, sign up for games at gauntlet-rpg.com. I'll put a link to that down below, as well as publishing some games, playing games. We also have a number of podcasts. We have a gaming magazine called Codex. You can find information on all that stuff down at the link below. So I'm going to, as ever, go through, ask each of you to introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about what happened last time, and then I'll do a quick recap, and then we'll jump into things. So Jose, if you'd like to start us off, please.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Jose, and my pronouns are he and him, and I'm playing Lady Camilla Betancourt Davies. Her pronouns are she, her. I'm playing the Explorer playbook with her. So she's a wealthy aristocrat who's gone exploring in the name of Her Majesty the Queen to conquer new lands and make new discoveries, quote unquote. But now she's back in London, fighting supernatural threats to the crown and to British society. So she's among the hunters of Hargave House. Last time, we had kind of, as I recall, a climactic revelation by Lord Falkenberg, the mastermind. I believe he was trying to create a new society. So I think revolution was on his mind. And he was attempting to entice all of us to assist him in that project, which we all turned him down and walked away. And then we returned to Hargave House to reassess, now that we knew a little bit more of this power behind some of the threats that we might be encountering right now. That's what I recall. Good to be here.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. And Elle.
Yeah, I'm Elle. My pronouns are she, her. I am playing Fujisawa, the factotum. Her pronouns are also she, her. Yeah, I think last time when the mastermind, Lord Falkenberg, revealed his master plan for the future of London, Fujisawa was perturbed by that, but somehow less perturbed than about the fact that her employer, our vessel, Priyanka Balakwa, had been flirting with Lord Falkenberg earlier in the evening. And back at Hargave House, we had a little moment where Fujisawa sort of pressed against the accepted boundaries of the employer-employee relationship. So she's in a weird place with Miss Balakwa at the moment. Yeah, that's what's going on with her.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And Daryl.
Yes, hello. I am Daryl. My pronouns are they, them, and I am playing Miss Priyanka Balakwa, whose pronouns are she, they. Prefers they, them, but lives in London, so she and Miss is fine. Last time we were at a party, the art was unsettling, the alcohol was strong, and everyone I thought I was flirting with turned out to be a villain. So that's pretty much where Priyanka's at. We have been like a little disoriented because we're having what we thought was a lovely conversation with, a lord, and then all of a sudden he was talking about, tearing down the walls of society and building a new kingdom where, you know, it would be a meritocracy. But of course, when, you know, a rich, powerful white man says it'll be a meritocracy, that doesn't mean jack. And so we got a little mouthy with him about it. And then we were spirited away. And then our maid got a little mouthy with us. And so we had to very quickly castigate them for that. And yes, so we're just having like a real downer of a day, like this morning. So I think that's where we find Priyanka.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And finally, Brian.
Brian him playing Eloise Cockburn him, and yeah, the one other thing that happened at that get together was Eloise found a key to Cremorne Gardens. So the next day he decided to go sneaking off and wander around where he didn't belong and got caught and knocked upside the head for it.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. So yeah, that's I think a good summation of where we're at. So yeah, as I said last time, we obviously we kind of started in the night phase, finished that off, and began the next day phase. So that's where we're going to be picking up with things today. So in just a moment, I will be asking everyone where you want to be, what you want to be getting up to, or seeing where you're at. So yeah, I think that's kind of what we had got done last day phase, or last for the day phase last session. I think Lady Camilla, you had been to recruit some muscle in the form of Sean the Brawn O'Sullivan, Fujisaru and Priyanka. Yes, you'd had your little confrontation, and yeah, Eloise, you had been knocked unconscious by a large bearded man and ejected from Cremorne Gardens, and that's sort of where we left things off. So I'll come back around in just a moment, and we'll check in what else you would like to get up to today. We'll probably kind of try and keep the remainder of the day phase pretty sharp today, because we already started it last week, and then get onto the night phase, and then sort of see where we go from there. Awesome.
That's a question.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead.
It's about the new move that we got last time with Darius.
Yes, certainly.
So I was reading through it and I was a little confused. Like, if we do that move, do we get a normal clue in addition to the mastermind clue, or do we just get the mastermind clue?
You get a normal clue as well.
Okay.
So it's kind of like you always get the
you just
12
always
plus
get the
almost.
mastermind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's related to a threat. We get a clue related to a particular threat, and then we also get the mastermind clue.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
Hang with it. Okay. Yeah. That's helpful.
So yeah, so you have so yes, you have the lessons of Eurydice available to you, which is that move with Darius. You also have still the Dutch Courage move available to you as well, if you wish to use that. I think in fact that was what I think was what landed Eloise in trouble last time, unfortunately. That's still on the table as well. So yeah, the threats that we have available, I'll do a quick recap of the two ones we've had kicking about for a little bit now, or for a couple of sessions now. So we have the Creature of Cremorne Gardens. We've decided that this, you have proved that this is a hoax. You are now on the trail of who is perpetrating the hoax and why they are doing so. You have 3 clues available for that one, which are a carved whalebone figurine of a fisherman, a pamphlet of sailors' hymns, and a set of keys for Cremorne Gardens. And that's a complexity 4 is the remaining question you have for that one. And then for the Gin Lane murders, yeah, again, you have discovered that there is a spirit of abandon is possessing people around London, and through them committing murders. This does appear to be there does appear to be some sort of pattern or volition behind the actions of this thing. You have so again, you've cleared the threshold in that one. So you've just got the question that remains, which is if there's a pattern, the spirit is acting under the direction of a Dionysian cult. Who is the mastermind behind the cult, and what are they planning? And then you can resolve the threat by confronting the cult and putting a stop to their plans. That's a complexity 6, and you currently have 4 clues available for that one. And then it's finally the one we introduced last time. Oh, I haven't posted the sorry, I pasted the notes and I've not put in the short description at the top. So yeah, the Satanic Mill is essentially you have had the mother of a child who works at a factory in Battersea. It's an arms factory run by Sir Archibald Bulstrode, an industrialist who runs a large corporation of steelworks. The Bulstrode's munitions, locomotion, and kitchenware has a number of factories, mostly in the north of England, but obviously the Battersea Works is down here in London. And essentially there have been a number of a surprisingly high number of the children that work at the factory have been killed or disappeared while working there. And you have some inclinations that there is something a little more supernatural going on here than might at first meet the eye. You have 2 questions for this one, which are: how are the deaths at the Bulstrode Works being covered up, and who is aiding Sir Archibald? Which gives you the opportunity to alienate Sir Archibald from his supporters and bring him to justice, or administer it yourself. And the second question is: how is the factory dedicated to Moloch, and what boons does his protection grant? And that will allow you to resolve the threat by storming the factory and destroying it and its owner. Though you will obviously have to deal with the obstacles in your way if you take that approach. So the first question is a complexity 8. The second is complexity 6, and you don't currently have any clues available for that. And I'll just write in the names of the
David, I put something in the wishes that I don't know if anyone else is interested in it. And I don't know when the appropriate time would be to do it, but I would love to have like a little writer's workshop moment around the overall arc of the story, and just to get a sense of what everyone's wanting for their characters, because we just had the big reveal and we've got, I think, 7 sessions left. And I don't know if that's something to do at the end or maybe next time, or when people have a chance to think about it. I know I'm trying to figure out 6 sessions left, how I envision Lady Camilla over the next 6 sessions, because we're getting close to the end. And so if I knew more about what other people were thinking, I might be able to support those visions. But So anyways, I just put that on the wish list. And so I just want to point that out.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I am happy to, if people want to have a quick chat about that now, or if people would rather come back to it kind of at the end when you've had a chance to mull it over, that's good as well. Yeah, just from my perspective, mostly from kind of more the technical point of things. Yeah, we're obviously getting relatively close to finishing up the mastermind now. I mean, we're over halfway, and my experience tends to be that the further through you get, the quicker you start racking up mastermind clues, just as everyone is more effective through advances and the like. So I suspect that, yeah, we will be probably we'll see exactly how it goes, but I wouldn't be surprised if we were kind of at the point of getting onto the mastermind thread sort of at the beginning of September. But we'll see how that goes. And like I said, we'll play the couple of sessions that we may not go right to the end. I actually may have to cancel one of the sessions in September anyway, because I think I might be visiting family. But that's again for I don't know exactly what's happening there yet. But so yeah, that's kind of in terms of where I see it's likely to end up kind of thing from the sort of game mechanical side of things itself, as it were.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out, like just for my case, you know, I know when I've read the rule book and such, it's like it's a little doctrinaire about what happens to my character. You will be killed by the girl, you know, and the mastermind will gloat over your corpse, and that's the way it'll go. And so I'm trying to kind of wrap my mind about how to get there, if that's where I have to end up, and what I want to happen with Lady Camilla on the way there. And so I know there's the coven with Priyanka, and I know there's Fujisawa's ghost, and I know Eloise has his secret society and stuff. And so I don't know how people envision those kind of coming into the play in these last sessions, and whether there's any way we can support one another in making it the way we want it. So maybe my gut would be to do it later when people have a little bit of time to think about it.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good. So yeah, no, in which case then I'll see what people fancy getting up to next. So I'll come round to you first, Professor. When you kind of come back to your senses, and I said you've been kind of left on the beach by Cheney Walk. What do you think your next step is going to be? Do you think are you going to try and get back into Cremorne Gardens, or are you going to take yourself elsewhere?
No, I don't think I'm trying to get back in. I think I think Alois went off and went ahead and emptied the rest of that flask, and is going to be heading home for a refill at this point.
Sure.
So I guess if anyone wants to meet Eloise, you know, with a bottle refilling his flask, feel free.
Yeah, we could definitely. In fact, we could even go for a vulnerable move there if anyone fancies that.
Oh, because that's your vice now, right? Drinking is your vice now. Oh, that's right. Cool.
I mean, if you want to have like a moment where like perhaps you were bumping into Priyanka as they're on their way out, and then maybe we have like a conversation, because I'm pretty sure we haven't actually had a conversation. So it seems like the ideal time to do it.
That would be cool. That would be cool. Cool. So yeah, we can set that up. I'll check in then next. I'll come back to you in a little bit, Priyanka, if there's anything else you want to do sort of following that in that vulnerable scene. But how about you then, Fujisawa? What would you like to get up to after your confrontation with Miss Balakwa?
Fujisawa definitely wants to get out of the house. I think she's going to go to Cremorne Gardens to meet with Abigail Simpson.
Sure. That sounds good. And Lady Camilla, how about you?
I think Lady Camilla would like to go to the Royal Explorers Club, where she's agreed to meet Anthony Reese Wood, I believe his name is, one of the members of the Explorers Club, to consult with him.
Is he the occultist?
The occultist, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that sounds good. And yeah, in which case then I think we'll start with the vulnerable scene with Alois and Priyanka. So yeah, feel free to frame that up and kick it off as you see fit.
I like the idea that maybe you've just kind of bungled into Hargave House, and I have discovered you as I'm on my way out, and I say, Professor Cockburn, you seem rather the worse for wear so early in the morning.
I was worse, but getting better.
Perhaps I should make you a cup of tea. And then we guide you into the dining room, and then the kettle is still there from breakfast. And so we pour you a cup of like really strong tea that's probably very astringent because it's been sitting there.
Cheers.
She lifts the teacup and takes a sip, and then pretends not to notice, like if you choose to top it off, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, he maybe turns the flask upside down over it, and it's nothing there. So. Sorry.
How have you been, Professor Cockburn? I feel as though we haven't had a chance to chat since everything happened with Lord Falconberg the other evening.
Yeah, he's trouble. Could be. Well, already is, I guess. Could be worse.
I don't know what could be much worse than realizing some of the things that we saw painted in that gallery the other night.
Well, I mean, I think he's just getting started.
Well, then it is up to us to stop him.
Does everything he's got planned. Yeah, that'll be worse.
Yes, and it is good to understand that we are on the same page there, but how are you, Professor Cockburn? I've had a hard time trying to figure you out. I'm very aware of Lady Camilla's predilections, and I've seen her comings and goings. I am very familiar with my own lady's maid's affairs, as it were, and yet you are something of a mystery to me still.
Well, I suppose my suppose I've got a lot outside of the house that I have to attend to. Takes me away from all of you.
Yes, the rigors of academia seem to demand much of your time. So tell me, what does one spend so much of their day on and so much of their night on when one is not hunting monsters? I'd be fascinated to learn more about your work and how you move things along.
Maybe you should audit one of my lectures one of these days. I don't remember the schedule off the top of my head at the moment, but probably find one that would be on a topic that might interest you.
Well, if you'd be so kind as to share a syllabus with me, I'm sure I could fit it into my schedule.
I'll bring a copy.
Priyanka just takes another sip of their tea.
Maybe hunt down a bottle to refill my flask.
And then so I feel like I have prodded you sufficiently about your nighttime activities. Is this a intimate moment enough?
Yeah, I think this is definitely feels like the vulnerable move here. So you can both clear a condition that you feel is appropriate here, and Alois, you have the opportunity to either stumble upon a clue, or you can invite Priyanka to ask you a question. Or
do you have a question?
I think I do have a question. I think that after a while of sitting in so-called companionable silence with the light threat of attending one of your lectures over us, I think I turn and say, it will be so interesting seeing you as the center of attention for once. I don't know that I really see you ever leading a conversation, and I think that would be delightful to see. Have you always been someone who prefers to cling to the shadows? I think there was a kinder way to say that, but I think that is what Priyanka says.
Yeah, I think I learned you. People tend to like you more when you listen, when you talk. If you're quiet, people tend to just assume you are what they want you to be. You talk, then maybe you disappoint them. They don't like what you have to say.
I think that I agree with you, Professor. Although I do find that the people who would very easily turn against you because they don't like what you have to say to be the kind of people one shouldn't keep in their company to begin with. Please know that if there's anything you ever would like to tell me, I would be happy to hear it. And I promise that I won't leave you behind just because you say something unkind.
He has anything more to say.
So, I think that's, yeah, like Priyanka has made the invitation to maybe open up to them at some point, but has also got this little bit of information too, that you're always thinking and you're always gauging what other people are saying. And so they set their teacup down, leave it for Fujisawa to clean up after, and head out to the opium den.
Awesome. We'll come back to that in a moment. But I think next we'll, I think we'll go actually with the with Sir Anthony at the Royal Explorers Club. I can't remember. Have we actually had a scene in the club itself yet?
We have not.
No, I didn't think so.
That was one of the impeti impetuses for asking for this one.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, if you'd like to describe the club itself a little bit as we as you head in, and then we'll see what you see when you get there.
Yeah, so I imagine walking into a room that's large, and there are leather couches and reading lamps and old oak desks and all very luxurious and comfy. And there's lots of old men in the club of various sorts, maybe some women as well. And I think Lady Camilla strides through, just taking in the whole scene. She knows most of the people here, some for years. And so maybe she is nodding her head to some people, greeting some people as she moves towards, I think Sir Anthony is seated at a desk. And as she approaches him, I think she notices that he's looking across the room with an expression on his face that seems, he looks uncomfortable. And he's fiddling with his cane. He has a cane. He has a limp, Sir Anthony. And he's seated, but he's fiddling with his cane as he looks across the room. And so Lady Camilla looks in the direction that he's staring. And there are two older gentlemen looking at them, at he and Lady Camilla, and whispering amongst themselves. And Lady Camilla says, "Greetings, Sir Anthony. Thank you for meeting me here."
Lady Camilla, so good to see you again. I trust you handled that business with the vampires and the like. I certainly haven't had any more threatening letters since back then.
Yes, that's all been taken care of, Sir Anthony. I don't think you have anything more to worry about on that front.
Good. Glad to hear it. Lady Camilla, sterling work as ever.
Thank you. And what are those two old toads across the room snickering about?
Oh, some business or other. A new expedition, I think, Africa, maybe. There have been a few chaps talking about it recently. Some new money being found somewhere to go and I don't know, not
Good
really
riddance.
my area of expertise.
Good riddance to them. They have been doing nothing but complaining around here all this time. I know they don't necessarily approve of our interest in the occult. They believe our research promulgates irrational superstition, this area not worthy of the Queen's sanction.
Indeed, indeed.
I suppose they may take comfort in their prejudices for now, but ignorance is no defense against evil. The day will come when the horrors they so haughtily dismiss arrive to destroy their tidy little worlds. Maybe they'll be in Africa when it happens, but I doubt anyone will muster much compassion for them either way.
As you say, Lady Camilla, as you say, the darker entities of this world lose nothing by being ignored and gain much.
Well, speaking of paying attention to the darker entities amongst us, I have a favor to ask of you, my friend.
Of course, ask away.
There have been some rather horrific murders happening in some kind of pattern across the city, and all related to pubs and drinking. And we have reason to believe that there is some Dionysian spirit at work. The murders tend to have the strength of a Maenad and the violent tendencies as well. And I'm wondering if you've heard tell of anything like this, or whether you could help me discern the pattern of these murders to see if the spirit is under the control of someone here in London, so that we might stop this needless bloodshed.
Of course. And he will kind of put a bookmark in the book that he's been flicking through and put it to one side. Excuse me, and pull out another that he kind of flicks through and says, we are approaching a date, well, an approximation of the date that was traditionally of significance to the Dionysus, and he'll kind of give the dates, essentially sort of 2 days in the future, and so that may be linked if this is, as you say, a cult of this of Dionysus that's behind these. There may be some form of ritual in progress that would, if the spirit is tied to that, then it would certainly become stronger, I would conjecture, around the time of dates of significance to the god.
Most useful. She's jotting down the notes.
As for the as for the spirit itself, I believe there are depictions of and he'll kind of flick open the book, and it's kind of a notebook, this one, rather than a sort of a printed book, and there is a drawing of a frieze around the that depicts kind of a some kind of bloody ritual type setting. I'll say you'll see here around the necks of the those enacting this ritual. They are wearing these garlands. Obviously, in the sketch, it's a little difficult to make out exactly, but from memory, these were garlands of grain and juniper berries that they wore around their necks. I do not know if that will be of any use to you, whether they act as a protective warding or rather some anchor for the spirit, maybe, but it may be of some help.
No doubt it will, Sir Anthony. I will be on the lookout for these. Maybe we can identify the cultist in some way using this information. Well, I will leave you then to your studies. Once again, thank you for your time, and please don't let those old toads over there make you uncomfortable here at the REC. We all value your research and your expertise. And as she walks out, she makes a point to pass the two old toads and glare at them. And then she makes her exit.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. That's perfect. So we will then head to Cremorne Gardens with Fujisawa as you arrive. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say that I think we see Fujisawa heading toward the banqueting hall at Cremorne Gardens, where she's arranged to meet Abigail. Fujisawa has under her arm, like tucked under her arm, the unfinished painting of the docks nearby Cremorne Gardens that James Whistler had been painting, in part because she just doesn't want to have it on her wall anymore, and in part because it's been quite some time since she's seen Abigail, the last time being when Abigail's father was firing Fujisawa from Cremorne Gardens because he suspected rightly that she and Abigail were getting a little bit too close for his comfort. So this is meant to be a kind of gift to break the ice a little bit.
Excellent, excellent. So yeah, I think we see as you enter the banqueting hall. It's obviously it's like a big. It's really a big like. It's clearly like a temporary structure, like a not quite a tent, but not far off. But it's kind of clearly not like something that's designed to stay here forever. But it is, however, very nice inside. The waiters wear tailored black livery. There's dazzling white tablecloths everywhere, and stacks of crystal goblets next to enormous casks of wine. So there's a paint the scene question here that I'm going to ask everyone. You smell something savory and unctuous as you step inside. What is it?
Just to double check, we're in Cremorne Gardens. Is that where we're
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I think the banqueting hall prides itself on this like cod dish with cream and capers, and the kind of salty, fishy smell of it lingers in the air.
There is a beef stew on the menu that is absolutely delicious, but has a thick layer of grease across the top if it sits for a bit too long. And the stale bread that they provide is great to mop it up with, but if you don't look too closely at it, it's fine.
You said the smell was unctuous, and what was the other adjective you used?
Savory.
Savory. I think there's a portion of, or a part on the table, on the serving table, where there are all sorts of condiments, pickles, and really, because some of the food doesn't taste great, so it some of the patrons like to slather it in chutneys and pickles, and there's a particular like turmeric pickle that is quite aromatic and strong on the palate, and so that's another whiff of smells that is crossing our noses as we enter this place.
Excellent.
I think kind of by the entrance, there's just a large whale oil lamp that's just turned up to the largest flames possible. And it's a scent of burning whale oil coming out of it. Just kind of lighting up the whole entryway.
Awesome. That's cool. So, Fujisawa, as you take a seat opposite Abigail, Abigail Simpson, you've obviously met her before, and she is much like you remember. She wears just kind of like quite simple utilitarian dress. Her hair's pulled back in a bun, and you know that she's just generally kind of quite a no nonsense type. She is, if her father's the visionary, she's the person that makes everything run smoothly. She is the kind of hands-on manager in many ways of the place. And as you take a seat, she says, Fujisawa, it's lovely to see you again. It's been some time. I hope that you've been keeping well.
We see that Fujisawa still looks underslept and upset or thrown off by her earlier interaction with Priyanka, but there's a sense of kind of putting on her best face for Abigail. And she smiles and says, "Oh, well, yes, I've been very busy as of late, one might say, but it is lovely to see you again. You look exactly as I remember."
And so do you. A little more harassed, maybe at the moment. As you say, I can well believe that you've been busy, but I hope it's things are otherwise good with you.
Harassed. That's a very kind way of putting it. Thank you. Oh, I brought you something actually, and Fujisawa slides over the painting of the Cremorne Gardens docks at night. It's by a local artist, James Whistler. Maybe it'll be worth something someday.
Oh, the yes, one of the lot that hang out on Cheney Walk, I suppose. Oh, it's certainly a lovely piece. Thank you, Fujisawa. That's most kind of you. I'm afraid I have I didn't bring anything quite so extravagant for you, but I can at the very least treat you to a good lunch.
I appreciate it, and don't worry, I've learned not to expect much these days. But I suppose I wanted to have this meeting with you. As I've heard about the goings on at the gardens, and I know how hard you and your father work. Are things all right? Is there anything I can do? Help with?
Really, I think it's a whole lot of fuss over nothing. If there really was a fish man creeping about here, my father would have already captured it, put it in the tank, and raised a tent. A Joey to go in and have a look. Thank you very much. No, I perhaps there are some ruffians causing problems here with some of our customers, which is a problem enough. I mean, we already have several policemen, well, off-duty policemen. We hire on security here to keep an eye on things, but I hardly think that there's some sort of monster creeping about the gardens. If that's what you're referring to, but thank you for your concern anyway, Fujisawa. That's most kind of you.
Speaking of your father, does he know you're meeting with me today?
I didn't tell him in direct terms, no. Yeah, she smiles.
I wouldn't have it either if I were you. I think you're right that if there were a monster or sea creature or what have you, he would be the first to profit from it. And Fujisawa is sort of smirking and lets that hang in the air to see if Abigail will offer anything more.
Sure thing. I think I'll ask for a roll with presence. I think here. Sorry, an investigation move with presence here, please.
Yeah. Can I use the painting to get advantage?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't remember whether you had it on a as a yeah. No, you can totally mark that for advantage.
Amazing. Okay, so 3 dice. That is an 11.
11, cool. So I think that she will sorry, just being a little bit, I just want to double check what clues I've already given. Okay, yeah, so I don't think we've actually had that particular one yet. So I think we might have discussed it, but I don't think I gave it out as a clue. But she will say, now you mention it, I did hear that Madame Two Swords have an upcoming. Actually, sorry, I'm just going to double check though. That's not one that.
I think Eloise
Yes,
got this
no,
clue
that is
and
right.
kept
Yeah,
it to himself.
that's it.
Yeah.
I was going to say because I thought I was looking at the list of clues that I'd given out, and I thought I'd had that one, but it wasn't on there. But yeah, no, that's cool. I will rephrase that then. In which case, she will say. What I did. The only thing I did notice that was a little out of the ordinary was that one of our handymen, Sven Anderson, I think he's Swedish, he was arguing the other day with my father about the sightings of this creature. I didn't catch exactly what they were arguing about, so I didn't catch exactly what they were saying, but I heard the creature come up in conversation. It's most out of character for Sven. He's usually very stoic, not one for displays of emotion like that. Whether it is or anything or not, I couldn't say, but it did strike me as strange.
Well, I can't think of any reason someone would want to argue with someone like your father. That is interesting. I'm working with an organization lately called Hargave House. We investigate things of this nature, and I'll admit that as much as I am enjoying this and as much as I wanted to see you today, this investigation is my primary business here today. We do detective work, sort of, monster hunting, mostly.
Well, then, it seems you're the right person for the job. If there is more to this whole monster story than meets the eye, and she will kind of give a sort of an ironic chuckle at that.
Yes. Well, I will let you know what we find out. It is hard work, though, monster hunting, but fulfilling in its way. And Priyanka Fujisawa is definitely, trying to. She's purposely circumventing the fact that she is working as a maid at Hargave House, and is definitely trying to make the intervening years since they've seen each other sound much more favorable to herself than they have been.
Excellent. Awesome. I think we will draw a curtain on that scene for now. We'll take a quick break actually, because we're almost at 10 past. So if we say come back at 15:15, we'll pick up with that scene in the opium den. We'll just check in if there's any last few bits we want to do before we move into night, and then we'll move into night. So yeah, see you all in a few minutes. Excellent. So we see Priyanka as you once again enter the opium den of Jenny Johnson. As ever, she's sat at her on her stool behind the bar at the entrance, and she will nod to you as you come in. Say, Priyanka Belakwa, it is good to see you again. What can I get for you this evening?
Miss Johnston, I'm afraid I am not here to partake of your wares this evening, although you can expect my usual donation. I'm here to inquire as to if a certain guest is amongst your patrons tonight. A certain man in a mask.
I'm sure you will be able to find him in his usual room, she'll say, and kind of smile and nod for you to sort of go on ahead.
I slip a small envelope full of a couple of pounds across the table, and then quietly make my way back. And then outside the curtain, I lilt just ever so softly. May I come in?
You know you are always welcome here, my dear. Do step inside. And yeah, the man in the sun mask is there as ever, resplendent in his sort of a gold dressing gown and the eponymous sun mask. And he'll say, I do seem to be seeing an awful lot of you and your fellows recently. Not a criticism, just a remark. To what do I owe the pleasure of your company this evening, Priyanka?
Yes, I've been pondering greatly on the things that you told me the last time I was here. I will admit that at first I tried to put them out of mind, but I had a rather interesting art viewing the other night that has brought them fresh to my memory. There were a number of things that you spoke of, a number of ways to look at the world in which I will admit I found you rather singular, if that is the term that I can use. However, I have since come across someone who seems to envision similar worldviews. And I couldn't help but wonder what might happen if I came and discussed them with you further.
Yes, I had intended to make an appearance at that very event, but time got away from me, as it does sometimes. And he'll take a long draw on the pipe. But nevertheless, I think I know of what you speak, or some of it. Anyway, we discussed before, did we not, about that little toy of Cyrus's, the camera?
We did, and I find it a personal failing that it seems to have found its ways into the hands of someone I would rather not have possessed it.
It is a clumsy tool, a prop for those who lack real talent. Priyanka, you should not mourn its loss too greatly. Though certainly an interesting trinket by all means.
Even a clumsy tool, when used in skilled hands, can create certain outcomes. And I fear that that is actually why I've come today. I would like to inquire as to whether or not you position yourself as a patron of that particular person who owns that clumsy tool that you mentioned.
As I believe I have said before, I have numerous powerful connections throughout the nobility and royalty of this land. I would not, however, call myself a patron of this person of whom you speak. They are known to me. I am known to them. We have had conversations like this one I'm having with you now. But they do not work on my behalf.
And they do not work towards your ends.
They work towards some of my ends, certainly. As do you and Hargave House. As, in her own way, does Miss Johnson.
When last we spoke, and when last you enlightened me into some of the ways of the world, you mentioned that I would owe you a favor. I feel that there may come a time where I might need to rely on your expertise more in the future, and I would like to find some way to settle our score before such time. That way I can enter into such an agreement in a clean slate. I know I'm not in a position to ask such things, but consider it another bit of charity to someone who might be further useful in the future.
And he will nod and say, someone who means more to you than perhaps even you know, gave you something very personal. I would have you give it to me as a token of your goodwill and collateral, shall we call it, against future debts. If you do so, then I will consider our I will not I will consider our matter closed for the time being, if such is the way you like to think of it.
The camera zooms in on Priyanka's gloved hands, which tighten around the edge of their purse. And with a bit of a quiver, they snap it open and pull a compact out. And when the compact is clicked open, it reveals the cut out and framed photo of Fujisawa that had been given to me. And we do this specifically for the camera to see it, because then we snap it closed again and we slide it across the table.
Thank you, my dear. That is a very welcome down payment, though I do not like to think of our relationship as too businesslike. I do not keep my ledger as an assiduous record of debts owed and paid. I prefer to do these things a little more fluidly. But he will, take another long draw from. So yes, if you mark off the picture, you can clear the condition, and he will say, and so, is there anything else you wish of me now, Priyanka? Or, if you wish, we can simply spend some time together as friends.
Priyanka drops her shoulders just a little bit and smiles underneath the blindfold and says, as friends then.
And I think with that, he will hand the opium pipe over to you.
I feel like that's a good place to cut that scene, because I got what I wanted out of it and set up a strengthened relationship.
Awesome. That's cool. So I think we'll kind of start moving towards the dusk phase now. I just want to check in if there's any last sort of little bits anyone wanted to do before we do that.
Do we want to answer any questions before that?
Yeah, we can do that now as well.
We're allowed to do that at the desk as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can do it. You can do it in the desk, or we can do it now. It matters. It doesn't matter much either way. But yeah. Oh, there is one last thing I want to just pick up with Fujisawa. Actually, as it occurs to me.
Yes.
And yeah, Fujisawa, as you are leaving the banqueting hall after your meeting with Abigail, a boy comes up. He's dressed in. We have seen him before. This is Greco, the second-sighted boy, though I don't believe that you have. He's got kind of the sort of the mystical face paint on again, and a jewel on his forehead, and he's kind of just walking down one of the sort of one of the paths as you leave the thing, but he stops and turns to you, Fujisawa, and he kind of looks you kind of dead in the eye, and it's that kind of almost like, it's like his eyes sort of boring into you, and he says, "You've seen her as well, haven't you? The drowning girl. You've seen her, haven't you? I can always tell."
Fujisawa's mouth slowly opens and shock, I suppose. The drowning girl. Yes, I've seen her.
I thought so. Like I said, I can usually tell.
Fujisawa will walk closer. I'm sorry, it's rather rare for me to meet someone else who sees the things that I see.
Me too.
I've learned not to talk about them too often.
Well, I get paid a penny a time to talk about what I see, so that works out quite well for me as well. I can buy lots of sweets.
Fujisawa smiles at that, but it's a sort of sad smile. Just thinking about what it must be like for him to be so young and to have that sort of dark, skewed version of the world that she lives in, to be your reality already so soon. And I think she'll fish out of the coin purse that's stashed in her OB just a few shillings, like enough for him to buy some penny candy, and she'll just place it in his palm. Well, perhaps this will help tide you over for the next day or so.
Thanks, miss. He'll kind of grin, and with that, I think he'll just kind of smile again and just kind of carry on his way.
Yeah, I think the last thing we see of Fujisawa is she kind of lingers watching him go. Because I think when she got close to him, she saw in the like kind of prismatic reflection, in the jewel in his forehead, like as many versions of herself as there were facets in the jewel, some with more and some without.
Excellent, thank you. So yeah, now with that, we will move on to the dusk phase, and we can also do some answering of questions as part of this. So we'll start off by our usual our playbook moves. If anyone has any playbook moves that trigger at dusk, feel free to call out now. I'm just going to quickly check over as well to make sure. I think the only one we've got that specifically triggers at this point is Lady Camilla's. If you want to call on the Rear Admiral, that I think we did last time, but you can do again if you want.
Okay, I think I'll pass for this one.
Cool. Yeah, no worries. Next, we will do a paint scene question. What will we go for tonight? Actually, getting probably about just the right number left, I'd say, give or take. I think that we will go for let's go for the conservatory. A former hunter in residence turned out to be the legendary killer known as Roger the Reaver. This was his favorite room in Hargave House. Looking around, how do you know that?
I think there's an old leather-bound sketchbook that's been left in the conservatory all these years, and it's full of these drawings of people, women mostly, all of them sort of cross sections, like vivisection drawings almost, but they're so lifelike, so accurate that there's this unsettling feeling when you look at them that they must have been drawn from life.
Cool, I like that.
So Roger used to hide plunder, things that he had stolen from his victims, in the garden beds. And so no matter how long it's been, and no matter how frequently the house staff turns over the soil, every once in a while someone will see something glinting in the dirt and pull out some sort of jewelry or something that was just another one of Roger's trophies.
Awesome, thank you.
One of the walls of the room swings open. Just reveals a small space. All of the tools are gone, but the hooks that they used to hang on are still there.
Awesome, thank you.
If you're in, I'm sorry. if you're in the conservatory at the rising of the full moon, when the light shines through the kind of greenhouse windows, this pattern of blood splatter appears, which is never in evidence at any other time. And most think it's a hallucination of some sort, but it seems very real if you're in it at that moment.
Awesome, thank you very much. So the next step would be going on to saying what we will be doing tonight, but I'm guessing people want to do some answering of questions first, so I will throw things over if someone wants to propose or begin proposing an answer to one of our questions. So obviously we don't yet have any clues, sorry, for the Satanic Mill, so you can do either or both of the Creature of Cremorne Gardens and the Gin Lane Murders. So Cremorne Gardens is complexity 4, Gin Lane Murders is complexity 6. But yeah, go ahead if someone has an initial thought for one of those questions. Yeah, start giving that out.
I have a theory for Cremorne Gardens. I think that the person perpetrating the hoax is James Whistler. The reason for this is that set of keys that was found at the art exhibition suggests that it was someone in attendance at the exhibition. Who's presumably this person who's orchestrating the hoax is slipping in and out of the gardens unseen in some sort of costume or something, something rigged so that people think that they're seeing a creature. And we know that James Whistler was at the exhibition. And I think the sailor's hymns and the whalebone point toward him because we know that he's been hanging around the pier of the docks at Cremorne Gardens, possibly talking a lot with sailors there. And perhaps one of them either described or showed him, an old sailor's tale about this, this sea creature. And perhaps James, as an artist, was at first just kind of taken by the image, and then he started to consider that with these paintings we've been doing at the pier and his being in this strange city as a struggling artist, that a hoax like this could be a way of ginning up interest in Cremorne Gardens and its surroundings, and perhaps also in his paintings of such. And I think Mr. Simpson and Sven arguing ties back into the keys. Sven being a handyman, I think that might have been one of his sets of keys, and perhaps he went to Mr. Simpson, insisting that they've been stolen, that like something has to be done about this whole creature thing. People are now taking his keys to access closed off parts of the gardens to catch a glimpse of this creature. And I imagine Mr. Simpson, based on what Abigail said, might have been dismissing Sven's worries, saying, it's a great thing people want to visit the gardens. Like, he's not going to do anything about it until, if and when someone actually gets hurt, and it starts to reflect poorly on the business.
And I wonder. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I was going to sort of ask if anyone had any other thoughts. So go ahead.
I was wondering whether we could use the mastermind clue of an invitation to the avant-garde art exhibition to say that somehow the Lucien is trying to capitalize on the chaos that might be created by this story by supporting Whistler and his ambitions.
Excellent. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense.
That would give us 5.
Yeah, that would be, yeah. So you'd be rolling a +1 in total on that. Yeah. Does anyone else have any other thoughts? Any counter suggestions, or are people cool with that? Awesome. So yeah, Sarah, if you'd like to make that roll, and we'll see how it goes.
Sure. I'm nervous, but I'll do it. Oh, I lost connection. Hold on.
Ooh, yeah, it does that sometimes.
Oh, that's a 5.
Okay, so your theory is incorrect.
Well,
but yeah,
I do
go
have
ahead.
an option here.
The time has come.
Let me just read exactly how this works. After rolling a question for the related threat, you may reveal the clue to the other hunters and increase the result by 1 tier, taking the condition untrustworthy. Sure.
What's the clue that you reveal?
The clue that I have is Madame Tussauds is putting on a Horrors of the Deep wax exhibit.
Cool. So do you think it's possible that maybe Whistler might be working in conjunction with them almost on this
or just got some of the supplies to construct this costume.
Yeah.
Or
maybe the other way. Maybe he had been commissioned to do some work for them, so he was aware that they were doing it or something. Yeah, that could be cool.
I'm trying to picture like how this all looks. Like we're about to, like, I guess so the it is the correct answer that he's responsible, but somehow we were about to like rule him out. Like we put all the pieces together, it seemed to point towards him, but it could be possibly, except Eloise knows that actually he did have access to. Is that basically how we
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think so. It has to be kind of. I imagine us all around the table, like putting our notes our heads together, and we're about to abandon the James Whistler theory, and then you
what is it? Just that he's at this point still kind of a struggling artist and just didn't have the resources to pull this off. Yeah, like, well. Yeah, that all makes sense in my head.
Yeah. So you've only just remembered this, Alois, now. We've been discussing Mr. Whistler for over an hour.
I do seem to remember you saying something about liking to not say the things that you were thinking, and now I can see why.
Sorry for this. I suppose I got a bit more shaken up by events of earlier today than I realized. I wasn't thinking further.
Perhaps all that drinking has muddled your brain just a little bit, Professor. You might try going a little more easy on it.
I was referring to the blow to my head. The drink was to help settle me, but maybe I've overdone it, overcorrected, as it were. Need to rein it back now.
Yes, that must be it, she says skeptically.
Awesome. Brilliant. So, in which case, yes, it is a 7 to 9 result. So there will be a complication, or it will just be a little bit more difficult to deal with this in some way. But you have got the correct answer. James Whistler is the creature of Cremorne Gardens. With that, I'm going to say, do you also want to try taking a run at the Gin Lane murders, or will you leave that for next time? Or, well, another time.
We could take another run. I don't
I
know.
think we could do it. Yeah.
If we integrate another mastermind clue somehow into it, that'll give us a little bit better shot.
Sure thing.
So basically, we just need to guess who the mastermind is. And I think the obvious suspect, of course, would be the Reverend Nathaniel Bywater.
Are there any other options? There's the piano player, I guess. What was?
Yeah. So there's the I haven't actually written that down. The other person you've definitely come into contact with who was kind of semi-related was this piano player. There are potentially other people out there that it could be, but there as well, if you do just want to kind of make up a guy, that's also cool. If it's because I realize, you've not necessarily interacted with many people on this one, so that might be a little bit trickier to come
Would
to.
it be? Would it be too wild to also consider it could be one of the members of the Society of Skara? I'm looking at that mastermind clue we have about the secret room there containing occult paraphernalia. We know that they're kind of
absolutely could be. You know that they are. That they are involved in. They definitely have inclinations in that direction.
Hedonism, yeah.
Periwinkle.
No,
not periwinkle.
No, but that you could, if you can make a case for one of the one or both of the Abernethys being involved, that's also cool.
I mean, why else would they give up their camera except to get spirit summoning devices?
It was a deal, right? It was a deal with Lucien, with the Lord Falkenberg.
And you definitively know that Lord Falkenberg is involved in this threat, because you discovered that earlier, I believe. We got a 12+ on one of the.
I mean,
yeah,
I think
imagine. Go ahead.
I think that probably makes sense if you think about where else are you going to host a bacchanal at the place where the orgies happen, and then if all of the occult artifacts that are in the secret room at the society were actually fenced to them by Lord Falkenberg's people, then that would make a really convenient base of operations. And come on, people don't just dabble in one form of occultism.
Exactly. And yeah, so yeah, kind of like almost like the Camera Obscura is kind of their public secret society, as it were, and that, but then it is in and of itself a cover for their secret society.
Yeah, and I imagine that this upcoming date is going to be climactic. Is that the word I'm looking for? In terms of the summoning of the spirit again, and maybe they're going to be acting out that some of the homoerotic imagery on that silver wine chalice with poor Periwinkle playing the part again.
I mean, what time frame are we in? Like, I know we're like probably like 1880s or something like that. But like, is it winter?
Oh, I think I've envisaged it being kind of maybe late summer, early autumn, that kind of time.
Like now.
Well, then that's not Capricorn season.
But
I also don't have a firm, I've not had a particular time frame pictured, so I've just been kind of defaulting to assuming it's roughly the time we're at now. But that does not have to be the case if you want to play about with time a bit.
And like different planets can be in Capricorn at whatever time of year.
Right.
It is
True.
So that could be indicating the timing of something.
And it could be that there's a conjunction happening or an important aspect happening in Capricorn that involves the Abernathy's natal charts, as well as the date of this Dionysian festival, where it would probably, I don't know. So maybe it would be Uranus, even though they don't even know about. Do they know about Uranus? It would have been discovered just around a little bit earlier than I can't remember when Uranus was discovered, but it might be an interesting one. Although it probably was not a Capricorn at that time, but it could be making an aspect. So some kind of astrological
100 years earlier.
100 years earlier. So it was already known. Okay.
So part of, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say hard aspects to important planets in the Abernathy's natal charts from in Capricorn from Uranus. Go ahead, Al.
Part of the question that we're supposed to answer is like what their plans are specifically, right? What if they're trying to incarnate Dionysus in Periwinkle? The corpse stuffed with grapes for some reason is giving me that idea, like a body kind of filled with the sort of a symbol of kind of like life-affirming hedonism that is, of course, precious to Dionysus. Perhaps after this big orgy, Periwinkle is to be sacrificed and sort of like reborn as Dionysus.
Nice. So the two clues that we have as yet unaccounted for on this sheet are the adulterated drink that was being served at the Bunch of Grapes amongst potentially other pubs, and these garlands of grain and juniper berries. So does anyone have any thoughts on how they may link into this?
We can dismiss clues that we think are unrelated, right?
That's right. Yeah, you can, if you think that like something is
it's a
is
red
a
herring
red
or
herring
something.
essentially. Yeah, you can explain it that way.
Yeah.
Well,
So this
if
idea
they've
that it
been
was
working, I mean, if they've been working towards this for a while and these murders have been becoming more frequent, then maybe they are using the violence. They're like using an adulterated drink to make the people be more violent, to like raise energy for the ritual.
Yeah, or like make London feel more appealing or more palatable to Dionysus. Just such a repressed society.
Just thinning the veil in that area in preparation for the ritual.
I like it.
Yeah, cool.
And then the garlands could just be props for the ritual.
Yeah.
You know, like ritual attire.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all they'll be wearing.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, that will once again get you up to a 2d6 plus 1, unless there are any other that's what I'm looking for. Unless there are any other mastermind clues you want to incorporate. But otherwise, if someone wants to make a roll.
Yeah, it does sound like fun, but poor Periwinkle, man.
I guess I can go ahead and roll it.
Yeah, go for it.
So it's the 2d6 plus 1. And that's an 8.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So
Unless somebody who's untrustworthy wants to be even more untrustworthy.
Wants to be super double plus untrustworthy. I think he only feels inspired by the losses on the questions.
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so again, this theory will be correct. Again, there will be some complication in the resolution of it, but you know what you're about. So awesome. So with that, we'll probably take another quick break, though. I'll just double check what we're up to. So obviously we'll be checking in a moment with what you want to do in the night phase. So give that some thought over the break. I will.
I have a mask outstanding.
Yeah,
still,
no,
so.
go for it. Yeah, we can do that now, and I will also just actually we'll probably do that as well when we get back. But yeah, that's cool. We can do that. We'll go over that mask. We'll check in with what you want to do. I will tell you what unseen we will be doing now on the. Get my words in the right order. Yes, I will. Yeah, I think we'll go with that one. We will go with the Empire Club. This is in the first column, second row of prompts. First one is a paint the scene for everyone. And then we'll I can't remember what one we did last time, so I'll just do let's go in reverse order. So Brian for the first, for the second, Daryl for the third, and Elle for the fourth. Yeah, with that, so if we say again, come back about 10 past, and then we'll pick things up there. So yeah, I'll see you all back in a few minutes. Yeah, awesome. So Lady Camilla, if you would like to do your mask.
Sure thing. Okay. So this is the Darkened Threshold, and the prompt is narrate a scene in which you inflict violence on someone and the authorities look the other way. So I imagine the scene opens in a very large, darkened space indoor, lit only by one candle on a table. And a well-groomed young man sits at the table, and he's examining a closed book in front of him. And as the camera zooms closer, we hear the man speaking quietly in a strange language that sounds like the buzzing of flies over a corpse. And the book appears to be covered in a thick carpet of moss that radiates out along the wood of the table. And the man's brow is furrowed as he focuses on his incantation. Hello. And the man looks up from the book startled, just as a bolt pierces his right shoulder and splinters through the wood of the chair behind him, pinning him in place. And Lady Camilla emerges from the shadows, lowering a crossbow as she approaches. And the man groans and he stares at her, and she says, "Ah, Mr. Sinclair, so glad to finally meet you. I believe you have something that does not belong to you." And she looks down at the book. "It's actually quite fortunate for you that you didn't manage to open it. In all likelihood, it would have consumed you straight away." The man glares at her and he begins a new chant. Sounds different, this one. And Lady Camilla says, "Sergeant, if you'd be so kind." And a very large uniformed Metropolitan Police officer with a bald head emerges from the shadows behind her, strides over and strikes the man across the face with his fist. And the man spits up blood and he says, "You'll regret doing this." "I doubt it. We simply cannot have thieves and opportunists of your kind interfering with our affairs." And she flips open her balisong in one smooth gesture. "What I'm about to carve into your flesh will make it impossible for you to ever work magic again, Mr. Sinclair. It will also serve as a warning to others of your ilk to think twice before crossing Hargave House. Hold him." And the camera pans back toward the book on the table as we hear the sounds of clothing ripping. And as the screams start, the carpet of moss covering the book kind of undulates, and a large green eye opens on the leather book cover. And it blinks slowly as a speck of blood lands on it. And then fade to black.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So, I think I know the two complications for the respective threats. So I think the complication in dealing with the Creature of Cremorne Gardens is going to be that I think at this stage maybe Thomas Simpson is also onto Whistler and is sending some of his security guards to deal with him. So you'll kind of have to you'll have them possibly causing issues for you as well whilst investigating that one. Well, whilst resolving that one. And for the Gin Lane murders, I think the complication there is going to be that the Abernethys have hired a pleasure barge called the Persimmons, and they will be when you confront them, they will be on there essentially. So that may make things a little trickier to dealing with it being on a boat, all that usual fun stuff. So yeah, those are the complications you'll be dealing with in those two threats. But with that said, I'm going to ask what people want to do tonight. So, Lady Camilla, how about you?
Well, clearly, we should try to resolve one of these threats, at least. Can't remember what's the one that's been on our books the longer. I think it's Cremorne, but
it is, yeah. Cremorne's the one that's been around for longer, and I think certainly on that one with the complication, it probably. If you don't get to Whistler, tonight, then the hired goons probably will.
So yeah, with that one, was it resolve the threat by laying a trap for the perpetrator and unmasking them? So that means we do have to go through laying a trap, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but broadly speaking, anyway, yeah, it can be.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, so I think Lady Camilla would like to be part of that, and possibly bring along Sean LeBron to see in case we have any trouble from the security from Cremorne Gardens, and but I'll let Fujisawa say whether she wants to be the bait for this particular trap.
And yeah, we will come to Fujisawa next. So.
Yeah, I'm perfectly happy to be the bait. Although very sad to miss the orgy on March. But yeah, I think Fujisawa will go help resolve Cremorne Gardens.
I have a fix for having too much to do in one night phase.
Cool. Priyanka, how about you?
I mean, I feel like if the pleasure barge can be pushed off to another night phase or something, maybe we all go resolve Cremorne Gardens. Otherwise, if it's like, also happening tonight, then Priyanka will go to the Gin Lane murders.
Sure thing. So yeah, with that one, it probably can be you think the actual ritual itself is probably in a day or two's time. The actual ritual itself probably isn't taking place tonight, so you can probably put that one off a little longer if you want to focus on Cremorne Gardens.
Yeah, then I would like to do that. And, provide whatever spiritual support that I can to my compatriots.
Sure thing. And Eloise.
Well, I didn't think we were all gonna focus on one, but I don't know. I mean, Alois is feeling wild and untrustworthy, so maybe he wants to go out. And he just got knocked up outside the head in the gardens. I don't know if he's like super anxious to head back there.
That's fair. No, that's absolutely fair. If you want to do something else with your night phase, that is absolutely.
But I mean,
fine.
Out of character, if we all kind of want to just put off the Gin Lane murders, I'm happy to do that. We can all, or maybe I could go. If we don't want me going out to try to resolve the Gin Lane murders, I could go just investigate the Satanic Mill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
People really have a preference. I'm totally happy to do that. Does that sound better to everybody?
I think we're fun to resolve the Gin Lane murders in a group, but so.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, I will go off and investigate the Satanic Mill.
Sure thing. No, that sounds great. So with that, we will just check I haven't missed anything. No, we're all done there. So yeah, the unseen we'll be doing tonight. is the Empire Club. The Empire Club is situated in a grand townhouse just off St. James's Square. Membership is popular among young aristocratic sons of lower birth order, many of whom have travelled to or profit from holdings abroad. Select invitations have been granted to those of less esteemed breeding who have managed to make their mark and a small fortune overseas. It boasts card games till the early hours of the morning, cooks from the four corners of the world, and plentiful bedrooms for those far from home or avoiding their family. Tall tales and business deals alike are shared over brandy and cigars. So, we will lead in with our first paint the scene question. So, this one is obviously for everyone. So beyond the wood-panelled walls and leather armchairs, what signs of masculinity and power are on display here?
I think they have a mounted stuffed grizzly bear standing claws out in the corner of the room.
Excellent, excellent.
I think the club is littered with very attractive young people doting upon all the clientele, young men and women, clearly employed as entertainment and companionship.
Excellent, thank you.
There is the wall in one of the cigar rooms, because they're plural cigar rooms, that is covered in all manner of swords and guns and other forms of weaponry.
Excellent.
Even though you can tell most of these men have never picked up a firearm in their life outside of, fox hunting.
Awesome, awesome.
And I think that they're in the main salon of the club, that there's a painting, a rather ugly painting actually, but I think prominently displayed because it was bequeathed to the club by a longstanding member. And it depicts the god Pan reaching out to grab at a group of beautiful nude nymphs who are bathing in this river. And in the painting, the nymphs are fleeing from Pan. They're terrified, and many looking at this painting would fixate on the women's fear. But the men of the Empire Club prefer to focus on Pan as a symbol of virility, and many of the younger, wilder members of the club like to mockingly pray before the painting, before a night of carousing, hoping that Pan will chase plenty of delectable nymph their way.
Awesome, thank you very much. So I think I'm going to start off with those of you going to Cremorne Gardens. So obviously Cremorne Gardens, Cremorne Gardens itself at this time is quite busy. There's lots of people out walking, promenading amongst the various entertainments on offer here. Lots of coloured lanterns and the like are strewn through the gardens themselves. The Cheyne Walk itself is kind of just is a bit more sedate at this time. There's still people kind of walking along the riverbanks, and there's gas lights shining on the street. But yeah, how so I guess I'm curious as to how you intend to lure out the creature, and how you think that's going to go down, and then we'll get into that.
Well, I guess when I suggested Fujisawa, I was thinking that she would be luring out James Whistler, but now I realize that we need to lure out James Whistler in the outfit, right, as the creature. So that changes things in my mind a little bit. Does anyone have ideas?
Well, you do have another beautiful young lady who can trot down the block to, attract a monster, as it were.
Oh, and you have the capacity to attract a monster at will, don't you?
I do, indeed.
If I'm not mistaken, maybe you would make the perfect bait then.
Yes. Is it almost as if walking down the streets of London and opening my consciousness to the city was something that I was especially skilled in doing?
You do indeed have the perfect bait. So yeah, that sounds like a good point then. In which case, to kick things off with that move, then Priyanka. So yeah, where do you think you are? Where do you think you are walking? Whereabouts? Is there anywhere in specific that you want to try and lure out the creature, and then yeah, if you want to describe it, describe your move, so describe how then. Sorry, I'm stumbling over that. And then once you've decided where you want to be, you can then kind of describe the scene as you start to allow your consciousness to spread across the city.
Yeah, so I'm wearing, an evening frock, the kind of thing that is, acceptable for middle-class people to be wandering around the boardwalks on. And I am probably near, a park, like a darker corner of the park or something like that. And I believe what I'm doing is probably exaggerating some, stumbling and, like tittering as though I am inebriated. Although I did imbibe some opium earlier, so maybe I'm not quite as. Wait, does that mean I have wild abandon now, or is it only drink?
No, it's only if you use it for the purpose of making that roll. So it's when you can spend it when you make any roll using composure or vitality, to roll with advantage essentially. But yeah, no, it's fine. You don't have that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I want that actually. So yes, I'm going out and kind of like knocking about, and then maybe even singing a little bit to show that, like, look, I'm a victim right now. But the thing is that I'm also am kind of feeling rather light after my conversation with the man in the sun mask, and might have let down my mental wards a bit more than I intended to. And so I start to tap into the ley lines of this place, and I start to feel the bubbly energy of the patrons of these various different stalls and vendors and shops and things like that. And it maybe goes to my head a little bit too. So not, for once, it's not the darkness of London that's creeping into me, but the gaiety of it.
Sure thing. Excellent. So if you'd like to make a roll with sensitivity.
And then I think I want to, let's see. No, I think I'll just roll with it. I don't think I'll use an object. Oh, where's the dice room?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I've not actually got it open.
Oh no, I got the link. Yeah, I got the link. It
Cool.
It was in another tab.
Yeah.
+3. Okay, that is an 8.
Yeah. So on a hit, you are immediately confronted by a threat or personified danger related to the threat, and you can ask them 2 questions from the list below. They will not answer directly, but rather in the form of a clue. That will be less of a thing at this point because obviously you have resolved the threat itself, so that's fine. But on a 10+, they will depart as soon as the questions are answered. So in many ways, it's not so bad a thing. Getting that mid result there. So we'll come back to that in a moment. I think yeah, that's just landed awkwardly in timing wise, but yeah. Brian, I'm going to ask you for the second unseen prompt first, and then we'll establish your scene with looking into our satanic mill. So, second prompt is a boisterous game of cards is played by some of the young bucks. Amidst the bluff and bluster, how do we see the differences between those with great wealth and noble blood, and those with only one or the other?
Yeah, I think what you see a group of maybe five of them playing, and if you're paying close enough attention, you'd see that two of them are kind of intentionally losing to one of the people at the table, but then occasionally one of the other two like wins those hands that they're trying to use to lose money to this other player, and you can see they're getting annoyed that these other two kind of don't realize that player is not. You're not actually supposed to try to win hands off of that player who clearly is been along. His family has been a member of this club for a long time, and this is a way to give a bit of money to someone who maybe their recent ventures have failed and need a bit of financial help, but you would never actually embarrass them by just giving them a loan. And yeah, these newer members are just not paying attention and carelessly just winning hands they're supposed to be kind of politely folding over to this player.
Awesome. I like that. Thank you very much. And so in terms of your investigation, are you just intending to kind of go to the factory itself and have a look around there, or was there a sort of another angle you wanted to take?
I was muted, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that he's going at night is because he's hoping to, get a look around without any, while it's not in operations.
Yeah, sure thing. So, yeah, so our location. So, this is, as I said, the place you're at is in Battersea, sort of overlooking the Thames. It's a big new brick factory, huge smokestacks which are pumping soot and sparks into the air. Even at night, they seem to be burning at full power. You can probably still hear the sort of thrumming of machinery inside. There are high walls around it, with relatively high walls anyway, not like ridiculously high, but yeah, with wrought iron gates in them with the letters MLK standing for munitions, locomotion and kitchenware, the kind of company name, over the face of a bull with big horns sort of curling out into the struts of the iron gates. And so I think the paint and scene question here is lost my place. Yeah, so the paint and scene question for everyone is going to be how do you or what do you see here that shows the sheer volume of production that this place puts out, and
I don't know much about how munitions were made in Victorian England, but I imagine gunpowder was involved in some way, shape, or form. So I'm just envisioning enormous tanks of gunpowder, silver kind of metal tanks, not made of silver, but silver, the color silver, metallic tanks filled with gunpowder, which is quite dangerous, obviously, now that I'm envisioning it. But yeah, the scale, like how much gunpowder do you need? So you must be filling up, casements in large quantities to be using that much powder.
I think just on the sheer number of rows of machinery here, you can only imagine what it must look like, filled with workers. It's the scale of the space itself is what shows the volume of work that must go on here.
The thing that stands out in the freight yard area is that the size of the cranes that they use to unpack all of the freight from however it's brought in, whether that's by like ships or something like that. It's all like giant. It's at a scale that's much bigger than one would I think intimidating to behold.
I'm like stuck in my head. I think that popped in my head. This is off topic. I'm sorry. There was a documentary about an aircraft carrier, and the thing that has stuck in my head for years, but that just emphasized the size of those things, is there was someone whose job it was to refill vending machines. That was all day long, every day. That was their job. And so it's popped in my head. It's like, what is the equivalent of that for this factory that that you wouldn't think of? And I've failed to think of what that thing is. But it's something.
No, that's cool. Yeah, it's like it's cool. It's a cool image. No, I like I'm also struggling to think that's sort of something so.
Just the thing to like
very...
just to like heat up the tea for everyone, in the middle of the day is like a huge production. Something along those lines.
Yeah, there probably is sort of like sort of an industrial kitchen to keep up with the number of laborers here, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's cool. I like it. So you will you'll be able to get up to the well, you'll be able to get up to the exterior of the factory without any problem. Alois, and you will. So it's clear like the place is still running. It is probably running on a much smaller staff than it does during the day, but there is still clearly some work going on here. There's some lighting in the courtyard kind of thing. You will see sort of a few people like moving crates around and loading wagons and well, it's probably actually like loading up train cars and stuff with stuff being shipped out of here. You will also notice there do appear to be some guards stationed around, and those guards are armed. They are carrying rifles. They're wearing they're not police, they're not military, they're clearly private security, as it were. But this, due to the nature of this place, they are themselves carrying guns. But yeah, what would you like to do?
I have like an item or something that I can. Is that I changed my approach so that I can use one of my items to help.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
Decide on an approach and then try to figure out how an item can help. Well, I've got a falcon ring with a hidden compartment. Maybe I can like just approach some guards and drug them. Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds like a possibility. So
yeah, I mean, these other, book on demonology is cool and all, but I don't know how it helps sneak it
fair.
back.
No, that's cool. So
that works.
Yeah, so yeah, if you're kind of again, this is probably going to be a composure, I think.
Yeah, so I think he's just I think he's just kind of approaching the guards, and yeah, maybe he's got the flask. He'll take a swig and then he'll dump a little of whatever's in the ring, and then offer it to them, and just he's just
Oh, actually, sorry. Presence is probably a better fit for that. Sorry, not composure. Yeah, just kind of offering to them. So yeah, no, go ahead and yeah, make that with presence. This will be obviously a night move. So what? Sorry, I'm getting out of order tonight. What are you afraid will happen if this goes badly?
Yeah, they're just going to see right through his facade, and he's going to get knocked upside the head again, or worse.
Yeah, sure thing. I think it's worse than that. This time they're not going to dump you by the side of the river or whatever, they're going to take you inside for questioning. So yeah, if you'd like to make that roll.
So, 9.
Yeah, sure. And I think we'll come back to that in a moment. And we'll cut back over to Priyanka. So, Priyanka, you are, in the in a darker corner of the garden, when you will see a fishman. There is no other way to describe it. Lunging from the darkness towards you. You are fairly, you already know it is fake, and there's just something about it that to your eyes, you don't quite, but you wouldn't have quite bought it anyway. But yeah, the creature is going to sort of lunge at you, and but I think even as he does, he pauses for a moment and kind of looks you up and down, and hesitates a moment. So yeah, you can ask some questions if you want.
So yeah, I guess that's actually a good thing. Can I ask other things, or can I only ask what's on the list here?
You can only ask what's on the list, for this.
Okay. Let's see here. So I think that as he jumps out of the bushes and attempts to scare me, I take a very quick, very like steady step back, and I just like the drunken kind of behavior drops away, and I smile and I say, "Oh my, what a terrifying beast before me. Oh, I would be so frightened if I didn't realize it was just a waxwork mask. Tell me, what frightens you?"
I'm worried about this Lord Falkenberg character. I don't know what his plan is, but I know he's up to something, and I figured it was maybe time for me to raise the cash to maybe find somewhere else to do my work for a while. Maybe Paris, or maybe even back to the States.
I think that Priyanka steps closer and like reaches out and taps on the fish mask, because now there are no more illusions here, and says, "Mr. Whistler, a man of your impeccable talents could be put to so much better use if you just had someone to steer you in the right direction. I'm sure I can't convince you to turn your skills towards a mission of my own?
I suppose so. If you can help protect me from Lucien, he seemed like a normal aristocrat when I first met him. Maybe a little less stuck up than some of them, but I'm worried what he'll do to me if he thinks I've betrayed him.
Oh, Mr. Whistler, you don't need to worry about that. I'm sure that we'll be able to coach you exactly how we need to, so that he is most assured of your loyalty. He'll never know that you would be telling me whatever I needed you to find out.
Okay, then I guess it'll be good to I suppose it's best to stop running around in this stupid costume anyway. He'll kind of shrug. But I think at this is at the point when we see kind of several burly looking gentlemen approaching from kind of from in the gardens. They are not, again, none of them are dressed in uniform, but they all have the bearing of police as they sort of start heading in this direction. So we will see what happens with that in a moment. But first, Harold, if you would like to do the next unseen prompt, which is two older gentlemen, Sir Mortimer Holland and Colonel Bulstrode, grumble about the lax morals and deficient work ethic of the younger generation. What complaints do they make, and how do we see the envy for their youth?
So they're in that cigar room with the trophies that we discussed earlier and the guns. And Bulstrode, Colonel Bulstrode, is looking up at the big bear with a look of distaste on his face, and he turns around and he says, "I say, Sir Mortimer, the quality of the membership around here has certainly gone downhill. They have all of this rowdy music. They far too free with themselves. I had to flee in here just to get a moment's peace. Wouldn't you agree?" And then Sir Mortimer is there and is polishing a pistol and says, "Oh yes, they are. They're far too libertine in their ways nowadays. I mean, you've seen the way that they carry on in Cavorch, not just with women anymore, but those boys they keep around. And have you seen Belcourt, for instance? Quite unnatural, if you ask me. He's still carrying on as if he's in boarding school. And, you know, that's something you're supposed to leave behind." Bulstrode glares out the window and says, "That's quite right. You know, Secretan, he dodged his military responsibilities, just decided not to go. He said he was a pacifist or something, if you believe that. His poor father can't even disown him because he's the one inheriting the title." And Mortimer says, "You know, if I were a bit younger, I would show these fancy boys what's what. They really must be put in their place." And Bulstrode, almost not even listening at this point, they're talking across each other, says, these boys nowadays, they have to toughen up, because if they don't, then the empire is going to certainly decline and the world is going to move on without us. And if the world moves on without us, how is the world ever going to survive? And they both just think to the adventures that they could be having if they were the younger men who were not so tied up in their morality and their social roles.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I'm going to throw this over Lady Camilla Fujisawa. You will be, either of you will be in a position to, either and indeed both of you will be in a position to intercept these guards as they are kind of heading. They're clearly, obviously heading, looking around. They will kind of discover Priyanka and Whistler if they continue on their way. But yeah, I'll give the opportunity for either of you if you want to step up and do something about their approach.
I think I imagine Fujisawa and Lady Camilla are sort of hidden in the greenery nearby Priyanka, and as these goons approach, I think Fujisawa will like calmly step out, as though she were just like on a promenade, and say, I suppose you were sent here by Mr. Simpson.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Simpson is our boss. What is it?
Yes, well, I and my colleague here, and she'll sort of gesture at Lady Camilla, we believe that it's in Mr. Simpson's best interest to simply let this be. We have it taken care of. And go ahead.
No, I was going to say, as she says that, Lady Camilla steps out of the shadows a bit, and you can see that she's carrying her elephant gun. And then as she steps out into the shadows, Sean LeBron steps out behind her. And we all stare down. Sorry, Al, you were going to say something.
No, perfectly fine.
And I see one of the guys when he sees Sean LeBron come out. He's got a little bit of a cigar in his mouth. It falls out of his mouth as he looks up at Sean LeBron.
I also like to think that we linger a little bit on the tattoo of the fish creature on Sean LeBron's like hefty bicep.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I will ask here for a night move with presence, and it will probably. I think I'll go with that from Fujisawa in the first place, as you kind of opened up with a talking. So, what are you afraid will happen if you fail or lose your nerve here?
I'm afraid that these men attack us, and Sean is somehow not enough to fend them off.
Yeah, I think it's worse than that. I think in the melee, I think that you're going to get struck a severe blow around the head with a club, and that will be the end of you. So yeah, if you'd like to make that roll.
I would like to. Okay. Oh, and I think perhaps as Fujisawa made her very kind of rational-minded sounding gambit, she was gripping the handle of her parasol that she's carrying and pulled it out ever so slightly to show the gleaming blade underneath. And I would like to use up my trick parasol here for advantage.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, that is a 12.
Very nice. So, I think they are going to immediately kind of Blanche and the sort of the lead guy that's been talking to you says, "Bloody hell, you must be those monster hunters that Miss Abigail was talking about. I thought she was pulling our leg." Well, no worries, Mrs. So we'll. Oh yes, Miss Readers. Oh yeah, we'll leave you to your business, and they'll kind of start, giving you and the area in a wide berth.
And can I just add something?
Yeah, go ahead.
So as they retreat, Lady Camilla just kind of looks up at Sean, and he's just looking out, watching them retreat, and she smiles with clear affection. And there's like a little flashback to earlier that evening, and it's a close-up of Sean's face, and he's sweating, and he has a look of intense concentration. And then his eyes open really wide, and then the camera pulls back just a little, and you see that he's hanging over the side of a bed. You just see his shoulders and his neck, and his face. And then Lady Camilla comes around, and she enters the frame close into her face, close to his, and cradles his face and says, Sean, your fortitude, it's heroic. You've impressed me.
Excellent.
And we'll just cut that off there.
Perfect. No, that's great. And actually, I'll ask you, Fujisawa, is there do you have any? So obviously on the 12 plus, you'll get some additional advantage from that. Do you have any thoughts on what that might be?
Ooh, can I think about it for a minute?
Yeah, no, by all means. So yeah, we'll cut back over to the professor. So Professor, yes, you got a 9+ on that. Well, you got a 9 on that roll. So yeah, you kind of go up to one of the gates, and I kind of imagine this is maybe like one of the maybe more one of the sort of side gate bits where it's a little less obvious. And yeah, there are a couple of guards there. They seem, that they are alert, but they're also not. This is just a job, at the same time. And I think when they'll probably kind of be a bit suspicious of you when you first come over. But when they kind of smell the drink on you and you hand them the flask, they will kind of look at each other and shrug and take a swig each from the flask. And within a few moments, they were both sunk to the floor, unconscious. I think the complication here for it being a 7 to 9 is going to be that kind of you interacted with them long enough that they will probably remember your face, essentially. That may be an issue in future, but yeah, you are able to kind of slip past them into the courtyard, and kind of once you're, it's that sort of fairly standard thing that once you're past the gates, people aren't really the people that are moving around. And like I said, it's not super busy at this time, but there are still people around. But the people that are around are getting on with their own thing and do the usual. Assume that if you've got past the guards, then you're supposed to be here, sort of thing. So I'll just give kind of a very brief description of, like I said, there's crates and stuff being loaded here. There's all that sort of stuff going on outside. There is a big door open, and you can see where they are sort of doing the loading and unloading and stuff. And you can see inside, just sort of dimly make out the sort of machinery that is still running in the factory behind. You'll also be able to see, obviously, so you can tell there's the furnace itself is obviously like still the smokestacks still going, as already described. Is there a particular destination that you have in mind that you wanted to take a look at while you're here? And we'll probably just resolve that in the initial phase with an investigation roll.
I mean, the furnace seems like a good central place to go check out, I guess.
Yeah, and there's probably as well a fairly there's probably an external door that will take you down there near where the vast like coal chute is. So I think you can probably get down there without too much trouble. So with that being your destination in mind, we will go to another quick paint the scene, and yes, so you head down into the sort of the basement room that the furnaces are in, or the big furnace. It's just one large one here, and yeah, it's a big it's a very large furnace. It like the gates outside has the bull's head emblem with MLK printed over it, stamped into it. It's incredibly hot down here. The heat is particularly intense. And yeah, so for the paint the scene itself, the question is, what image, and again, this is for everyone. Well, this is for everyone, but there's also a second question for a couple of you. So this question is, what image of terror do you see briefly in the flickering flames of the furnace? And for anyone with either the Cosmic Passage or the Darkened Threshold mark, which I believe is Fujisawa and Lady Camilla. Memory serves, yep. You also have, or rather, you have instead the question of what do you experience that lets you know the suffering inflicted on the victims sacrificed here?
So I'm sorry, David. Do we do both, or just one, or just the latter?
Just the latter one, unless you have an idea of the first as well, in which
No,
case
that's cool.
feel
That's
free.
cool.
But no, just the
Okay.
I think one of the things that is briefly visible as you gaze into the flames is there's almost a appearance of like several small human figures that a larger figure appears behind, and like licks of flame that look like hands come and rend their way through the smaller figures and scratch them into sparks.
I mean, I think flames are mostly, subdued a bit because they, it's not in full operation at night. And as Eloise, kind of steps over and peers in, there's a moment where the flames kind of flame up, and liquid flame kind of comes out towards him. And there's a point where it looks like a hand reaching to grab him and pull him into the flames.
And I think, well, I don't know if it's Lady Camilla seeing it, or it's just happening on the screen. An image of Aggie McClintock, the mother of the victim, the mother who came to Hargave House to talk about her son's disappearance, crying inconsolably, that's what it is. I can speak English. In her kitchen, on a kitchen table, and then as the camera zooms in on her, it's like superimposed all these people who've lost loved ones in this place, all of their mourning becomes like this cacophonous wailing that's hard to tell from the roar of the fires.
And
Awesome.
I think, oh, sorry.
Karen.
I think that as the flames of the furnace sort of rise and fall and like look out towards Eloise, we got maybe a shot of Eloise's face and the kind of interplay of light and shadow on it. And in that shot, he looks corpse-like and ghoulish.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So, yeah, Professor, if you would like to, how are you kind of, what are you doing to have a look around in here? Is there anything in particular you want to focus on or do?
You know what? Maybe. How does this phrase again? maybe my superior has given me some instructions for what to do if I get myself here.
Yeah, that sounds good. So, I think the I always have to remind myself of this one. So yeah, I think that your we get a flashback to your superior, who will say, we know the Battersea Works has a powerful artifact at the heart of it. It is dangerous, but it can be propitiated, I suppose you can say. And the he will pass you a vial of blood, and says, sprinkle this on the furnace. It will buy you some time, not long, but perhaps long enough to learn more about it. I will need you to bring me something of significance to Sir Archibald, something personal of his. Ensure that you do so. And with that, he'll kind of wave and dismiss you about your task. So you'll get a 12 plus on an investigate roll. What you will find, looking around in here, is there's like a thick layer of coal dust and grime laid down on the floor. But as you search around, you'll begin to find that inlaid into the sort of carved into the brickwork floor here, is a circle of power, essentially encircling the furnace. And you will also excuse me, sorry. As you are as you're kind of searching through here, you'll find as well a few loose bricks, and as you pry up those bricks, there are a few items in here that have been left, and you will find a small a small coffer, and inside it there is a collection of gold coins, ancient gold coins, but the little coffer itself is itself kind of inlaid with gold, and just has a golden falcon's head sort of over the keyhole. And that's the mastermind clue you get for the 12 plus. I also owe you another mastermind clue, which I will detail shortly. But yeah, and I think with those discoveries is when we'll see kind of the blood finally evaporates off of the surface of the furnace, and we hear a kind of rumbling sound that doesn't sound 100% mechanical in nature, and I think that's probably the point at which you'll start to make your retreat, as we will draw a veil over the evening, then we'll go back over to the scene at Cremorne Gardens, and if you just want to the last few moments just to kind of wrap that up. Oh, did we miss the last? We did, didn't we? Sorry, we'll just do the last unseen. We're probably a little late for getting much in from that, but yeah. Sorry, I got carried away. Elle, if you would like to do our last unseen, which is Francis Ackerman has recently returned from the subcontinent. As he retires to the bedroom he has taken at the club, how do we see him drop his stern facade and express his vulnerability?
Francis enters the room, and the bedroom door shuts behind him, blocking out the distant laughter and body talk from the salon of the clubhouse below. And the way Francis's face changes, knowing that he's firmly out of sight of the others, is like taking off a mask. It's a sudden shift from this stern man that has everything together to what could only be described as the face of a scared child. And he prepares himself for bed. He peels off his silk cravat and his jacket reeking of cigar smoke. And his eyes sort of catch on a letter prominently displayed on his nightstand and illuminated by like moonlight through the window. And he looks upon this letter as he has every night since he received it upon his return to London. And it's as though he's looking at it for the first time. It's like utter disbelief at its content. The letter makes very clear in the harshest words his father could muster that Francis has been disinherited from the family that gave him his name and, most importantly, his wealth. And very soon he'll no longer be able to afford his membership to the Empire Club, much less this rented room. Soon he'll have to admit that he has nothing. His hand trembles as he clutches the letter. Soon he'll have to find real work. And as he gets into bed and falls into a fitful sleep, the last thoughts on his mind are worries of how long he'll manage to prolong this deception that everything is fine and that he has still a firm hold on the silver spoon that he was born with.
Awesome, thank you. And yeah, I'll ask you just again. Did you have a thought in mind for what you might get for your 12+ here?
Yes, and please feel free to veto it. I won't. My feelings won't be hurt. But I'm wondering if I can add Sean LeBron to my Hargave House informals. Can I put him on the payroll?
Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
Okay. Oh,
I mean,
also wanted to
it
check
does
in
mean
with,
he'll wind up dead, but you know. That's...
Yeah, I wanted to check in with Jose about it too, because it probably does mean that
If
he
you
will
kill
die at some
him, Lady
point.
Camilla's gonna kill you.
I'm willing to take that risk if you're okay with it, Jose. Okay, great.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Brilliant. So yeah, did you want any? Did any of you want any last words as we bring the Creature of Cremorne Gardens to a close, or are we happy with where we're at?
The only thing that I want to tease is that, like, at some point through the resolution of this, like when things have settled down, Priyanka requests a portrait sitting with James Whistler as well.
Yeah, and he will be glad to oblige. But yes, that's certainly.
I think if Fujisawa is within earshot, as Priyanka requests this, we just got that shot of like Fujisawa watching, pursing her lips, and like descending ever deeper into the depths of bitterness.
Excellent.
And then she was definitely within earshot.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Awesome. And then with that, we will wrap things up there for the evening. We will first we'll just quickly do the usual end of our dawn phase stuff. So we will certainly we'll do our collect rewards, so that will happen. You have resolved the Creature of Cremorne Gardens. Did I put in the rewards in the sheet already? Yes, I did. Cool. Yeah, the rewards. So the rewards for this one are mostly straightforward. There's one exception to that. The first reward is Greco can be consulted via dreams on an ongoing basis. Only a hunter with the cosmic passage mark can take this reward, and only if they spoke with Greco. The other rewards from this are all a memento from the investigation. So as usual, you ask another hunter to tell you what you get and then add it to your personal quarters. So I guess what I will do on that one is I will throw this over to Fujisawa, just to say, I guess, do you want to add Greco? Do you want to be able to communicate with Greco in your dreams, or do you just want to take a memento? As I think you're the only one currently who can take him. Yes.
I would like to claim Greco.
Awesome, cool. Lady Camilla, if you would like to ask somebody to give you a memento from the Creature of Cremorne Gardens.
Sure. Daryl, do you want to give me a memento?
I think that some days later, after the whole thing has died down, you receive a small box that has a one of the gloves that James Whistler would have worn to look like the fish monster, but it's been reinforced like a gauntlet.
Great. Fish glove.
Yeah, and Priyanka, if you want to ask somebody to give you a memento.
Fujisawa, what did I get from the Creature of Cremorne Gardens?
Oh, I was gonna give you this as your memory of this as a servant memento, but I'll just do it now. I think before Priyanka goes to sleep, Fujisawa will have taken the waxwork mask of the fish creature and kind of like tossed it onto Priyanka's bed, as a reminder of like what kind of person James Whistler is. That is your memento.
Excellent, excellent. And Professor, if you want to ask somebody as well for a memento.
Lady Camilla.
Okay, let's see. I wanted to be a memento of the drubbing you got when you were caught in Cremorne Gardens somehow. That was security, right? That got you. I think I'm gonna just say that it's when you awoke from your drubbing, you noticed something shiny in the on the ground near you, and it's a cigarette case that one of the thugs that beat you up dropped.
Awesome, awesome. So with that, we will go to our dawn questions. So again, everyone has answered a question. Everyone has resolved a threat. So everyone gets those first two. So Lady Camilla, did you experience an echo in the night?
Yes, there were a lot of cigars around the unseen today.
Yeah.
Cigars abounded. Freud would be happy with us.
Indeed. Did you leverage your social status to gain the upper hand?
I don't think she particularly did this time.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Did you engage in a secret sexual rendezvous with a commoner?
That she did.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much. And Fujisawa, did you experience an echo in the night?
Yes, with Francis and his quote unquote mask, and being like a hoax of sorts.
Yeah, that's cool. Did you subtly express sexual desire for your employer?
Last time, in the scene with Priyanka. Yeah.
Yep, that is fair. Yeah. And did you have a scene showing your secret private life in London?
I think my scene with Abigail.
Yep, that's fair. That's fair. Awesome. Thank you very much. And Priyanka, did you experience an echo in the night?
I actually don't think I did this time. I think I forgot about it and just didn't get around to it.
No worries. Yeah, no problem. Did you perform a ritual?
I did. I opened myself up to the spirits of London.
Yeah, that's very fair. And did you have a face-to-face encounter with a dark entity?
He was a charlatan, but I assume that counts as a dark entity. So.
That's fair.
Well, and
that's
the sun
fair.
mask. So.
And the man in the sun mask, yeah, probably counts. I mean, technically, it maybe counts as a very bright entity, but yeah, close enough. And Eloise, did you experience an echo in the night?
Nope.
Did you cause problems for your society while helping Hargave House?
Oh, that I did.
Yeah, I suppose, but in theory, revealing your secret might count for that. And did you let down Hargave House while serving your society?
No, I don't think I did.
Yeah,
Next
no
time.
worries. Yeah, no worries, not a problem. So that's cool. That's that done. So we'll leave things there. I don't think anyone had any masks to do anyway, but I will check in again on that at the beginning of next session. Obviously, you can switch around your questions as you see fit. But yeah, awesome. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to end our recording. Oh, sorry.
I think I am still owed a mastermind. Clue, 'cause I
Oh,
got one.
actually, sorry. That's
yeah,
technically
for the.
It's technically when the threat is resolved, which it hasn't been yet. So that's. But yeah,
No, it was the Cremorne Gardens, right? We resolved that, and that was.
Oh no! So it was because the Cremorne Gardens was one where you used the clue. I think it's the.
Oh, that's right. It's the gin lane.
the
Okay,
gin
so
lane
we
where
still
you-
haven't resolved that yet.
Yeah, that's
right.
it. So yeah. You when that's resolved, you will get one. But yeah, no, that's cool. No, not a problem. No, it's yeah, we had a couple of questions going around tonight. So that's easily done. No, so thank you, everyone. Yeah, and I'll stop the recording.